Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will learn how to create data using SQLite database. This is basically a Notes app series where I will teach you how to create a note, display the note, update the note, and finally delete the note. It's like a CRUD series for SQLite database, as well as it's a fully functional Notes app. Cool, right? I have already created a CRUD series for Firebase real-time database, so if you are interested in it, you can click on the I button to watch. So now, coming back to today's video, let me give you a quick preview what exactly we are going to create. See, all the notes will be displayed here. Then when you click on floating action button, it will lead you to add note page. Let me quickly write title and content. Now I'll click on save button and see note is displayed. Also, as you can see, we have a title with content and edit and delete options as well. So I'll click on edit. Then I'll write something different. And then I'll click on save changes. And see note is updated. Then I'll click on delete button. And note is successfully deleted. Perfect, right? As we are using SQLite database, so there is no tension about Firebase expiring or online database. It's all local database present inside your device files. At the end of this video, I'll show you how to access the SQLite database. Okay, so for that, stay tuned till the end. Also, a better way to store data is to use Room database. Hence, I'll be covering Room database, API, and other important topics in upcoming Android Kotlin Advanced series starting from September. So please make sure to subscribe my channel. Now let's create the Notes app. Choose empty views activity. Write the name as Notes SQLite and click on finish. Let's do the prerequisite first. So go to colors.xml. Duplicate the line using Ctrl+D. Then write the color name as orange and hex code as ED5F1E. And done. Next, go to themes.xml, uncomment this line and write color as orange. Now duplicate the line and write the item name as color primary variant. Again duplicate the line and write the item name as Android status bar color. And done. Then, as we will be using view binding, so go to Gradle module. Over here, write build features. Then inside it, write view binding is equal to true. Then click on sync now. And done. Now this time, I won't be using any background images. Instead, we will use vector assets and border only. So to do that, first right click on drawable, then new, and then vector asset. Search for add. And done. Then search for done. And done. Now to make edit text look more fancy, I'll create a border around it. So right click on drawable, then new, and then drawable resource file. Write the name as orange border and root element as shape. Now here I'll keep the shape as rectangle. Then as I said, it's a border, so I'll use stroke attribute. And inside it, width as 1 dp, color as orange. Then to make corners a little bit rounded, I'll use corners attribute. and inside it, radius as 8 dp. And that's it. Now, as we will be storing a note, so for that I'll create a new activity as AddNoteActivity. So let me quickly create it. And done. Now all the prerequisites are done. Close the tabs. Let's move to layouts. So go to activity main.xml. Here data will be displayed using recycler view, which we will cover in the next video. But for now, let's focus on storing the data. We will simply going to create a floating action button at the bottom. So when the user will click on it, it will lead him to add note screen. Simple, right? So let me quickly write it. And done. See, we have a relative layout as a parent layout. Then we have created floating action button whose ID is add button. Then positioned it. Then add icon. And then lastly, icon and background color. And that's it. Now let's create add note. So go to activity AddNote.xml. Here we will create a text view as a heading and then beside it an image view as a save button. Okay. Then below that two edit text as title and content. Simple, right? So let me quickly create it. And then see, I have used relative layout as parent layout. Then inside it a text view whose ID is add note heading. Also, one more thing I need to add over here is font family. So go to design, click on text view and find font family. Scroll and click on more fonts. Search for Poppins regular and add to the project. And that's it. Then, beside the text view, I have created an image view whose ID is save button with done icon. Let me quickly change the color of icon to orange. And done. Then below that I have created an edit text whose ID is title edit text with orange border around it. As it's a title, so I have kept the maximum line as 1. Means you can't write more than 1 line. Also, I'll add font as Poppins. Then similarly, I have created another edit text whose ID is content edit text. As it's a description, so I have kept the height as match parent. Also, let me quickly add font as well. And done. That's it. This is how add note screen will look. I'll scroll slowly so that you can pause the video and copy the code. Alright, layouts are done. Now it's time for logic. First, I'll go to main activity. As I said, this is where read data will be performed, but for now, I'll set an intent on the add button. That's it. So first, let me quickly create binding. And done. Then inside on create, write binding dot add button, that is our floating action button, dot set on click listener. And then inside it, create an intent. that goes from this activity to add note activity. Finally, start the activity intent. And that's it. Now comes the actual SQL part. Remember, whenever we store data, we need to create a data class. Data class is basically where we will mention all the data with their data type. So let me quickly create it. Right click on it. Click on new, then Kotlin class file. Name it as Note. And then choose data class. We will be storing 3 data parameters: ID, title and content. Title and content, that is basically provided by user through AddNote, right? ID is something which we will provide as a unique value to each data, okay? So I'll write ID as integer, then title as string, and then content also as string. And that's it. Simple, right? Now we need to create SQLite database, table, columns and all the queries. So where do we create that? Inside the NotesDatabaseHelper class. Right click on it, then new and then Kotlin class. Write the name as NotesDatabaseHelper. Now over here, 3 important things. First, we will extend SQLite OpenHelper and create it 2 method. Second, we will create constant, basically database name, version, table name and column name. Third, insert note function where we will insert the data into the database. Simple, right? Let's create it. First, we will create all the constant. So to create constant, first we will create companion object and then inside it mention all the constants. First one is private constant database name as NotesApp.db. Then duplicate the line and write database version as 1. Then again duplicate the line and write table name as all notes. Similarly, let me quickly create for other parameters as well. And done. See, we have column ID as ID, then column title as title, and column content as content. And that's it. Now I will extend the class. So follow me. I'll declare context that basically represents the Node database helper. Then extend it as SQLite OpenHelper. Now inside it, we need to mention 4 parameters. First is context, then database name constant, then cursor factory as null. In simple word, cursor factory creates cursor object and that cursor object acts as a pointer to read data from the database. So passing it as null means using the default cursor factory. And then lastly, database version constant. Now implement both the members of SQLite OpenHelper. First is onCreate and second is onUpgrade. In onCreate, we will create the table using createTable query, and in onUpgrade, we will drop the table using dropTable query. As we are dealing with SQLite, so I assume that you are aware about queries, and even if you are not aware, then don't worry, you will find all the query syntax on the internet. So let me quickly write it. And done. See, I have changed the variable name. Then this is what createTable looks like. The words which you see in orange color are the predefined syntax like createTable. Then I have mentioned the table name. And then inside it, I have mentioned all the columns with their data types, like column ID as integer and also it's a primary key. So primary key is a concept of SQL which means ID has to be unique. then column title as text, and then column content also as text. Query is created, then execute it means run it using execute SQL method. Simple, right? Similarly, let me quickly create for on upgrade as well, and done. See, I have renamed the variables. Then this is how drop table query looks like. Drop table if exists, then I have mentioned the table name. We use drop table query to remove similar table name if exist. Then execute query, and then new table is created using onCreate method. Like, it should not be the case where we have multiple tables with similar names. So to avoid that, first we drop the same name table and then create a new table. Got it? Now we will create an insert node function. So first let me quickly create it. And done. See, I have passed the node data class in a node variable. Then I have kept the DB, that is SQLite database, as writable database. Means it can be modified. And then I have added a content values class. So basically content values is a class that is used to store values associated with column names. Okay. So content values dot apply. Apply is like it allows you to perform operations. That inside it put basically takes the argument. So first is column title, that will store the Note.title, that is basically the data parameter present in the data class. You can press Ctrl and click on it to see where exactly it comes from. Got it? See, this is exactly what we are accessing over there. So come to Notes Database Helper again. Similarly, I have done for column content as well. That will store the content that is present in the data class. Now you might be wondering, we have put title and content in columns, then why not ID? Because ID is provided by SQLite database as a unique serial number. Then all the columns are present in the values variable. So next, this is where we have actually inserted the data into the database using insert method. Here we have three parameters in it. First, we have inserted the table name. Then second, we have kept the null column hack as null because it inserts an empty row inside the table. As we don't want an empty row, so I have kept it as null. And then lastly, values, which is basically our columns. Once everything is inserted, then close the database connection. Simple, right? Now, it is showing error because I did a silly mistake over here. Pause the video and see if you are able to figure it out. This is your hint. If you are able to figure it out, then great. And if no, I'll show you. Everything is correct here except database version. Whenever we write numbers or integers, we are not supposed to write them inside double quotes, right? So I'll remove it. Now see, the error is gone. As it's a first video of this series, everything might look little complicated to you. Hence, I am explaining it in very detail, okay? So data is created, database is created. Now it's time to set everything in AddNoteActivity. So go to AddNoteActivity. First, let me quickly set a binding. And done. Then next, as we have to access database, so we will declare DB as NotesDatabaseHelper. And also make sure to initialize it. And done. Now all of this storing of data will happen only if save button is clicked. So write binding dot save button dot set on click listener, and then inside it, let me quickly write it. And then see, first I have taken the inputs from the user through edit text using .text method. So it goes like title is stored inside the title variable, and similarly content is stored inside the content variable. Then I have passed the arguments inside the node, that is basically a data class. Remember, always pass the arguments in exact positions, like go to node data class. Over here, first is ID, then title, and then content. Okay. So come back to add note activity. Even over here, the first is ID, that will start from 0. Then title, which is given by the user, and then content, that is also given by the user. Now we have stored 3 of them in node variable. Then we have access the database and then insert node function, which we created before, right? And then inside it, I have passed the argument as node variable. Got it? Lastly, I have used finish method that basically closes the activity. So if add node activity is closed, then automatically it will go to main activity. It's like using intent only, that goes from this activity to main activity. But at this point, using finish method will do the same job. Okay? And then toast as node saved. And that's it. We are done with the coding. Now let's run the app. See, first screen is main activity. Then I'll click on add button, and here we are on the add note screen. I'll quickly write title and content. And done. Now I'll click on save button, and see, the toast saves as note saved. And also we are redirected automatically to main activity. As we have not yet displayed the data, so you won't see node over here, but the data is stored in the database. So now the question is, how do we access the database? Earlier I used a plugin called Simple SQLite Browser, but now it's not compatible with new Android Studio. Now there are 2 ways to do that. First is using Database Inspector in Android Studio itself. I was facing issue with Database Inspector, hence I am going for second way, that is to access database in SQLite database browser software. I have mentioned the software download link in the description box. Now we need to download the database and open it in SQLite database. So to do that, make sure device is running. Then open Device File Explorer. Click on Data. Then again Data. And then inside it, find your project package name. And then inside it, click on Database. Here you will find your database name as NotesApp.db. Select it and click on Download. Then come to SQLite database software. Click on Open Database and select the database which we downloaded before. Now come to Browse Data. Here select a table name, that is all notes, and see all the columns are displayed. So we have ID, title and content. That means our data is successfully stored in its respective columns. Cool, right? Alright, so don't forget to watch the next video where I'll be displaying the data in the recycler view. And also for more updates, you can follow us on Instagram or join our Telegram group. Link in the description box. So yeah, that is it for the video. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing to my channel and I'll see you in the next video.